Organissima, New York. Your exotic skin, hair, and beauty source, and your one-stop shop for all your natural and organic skin and hair care, featuring authentic organic Moroccan oil and prickly pear seed oil and much more. Bringing you only the best, straight from the source and proudly produced in the USA. So what are you waiting for? Shop today at www.organissima.com. Organissima, New York. Your beauty is our duty. Organissima, New York.
All right. Welcome back to the iHealth channel, iHealth Radio. Hurricane H here, your host. New day, new show, new topic, new guest. A very interesting topic, a very fun session we're going to have today with our guest, and because it is a topic that is dear to my heart and I do believe in. And I'm going to start this with a quote, and the quote is very simple. I've used it many times. You've probably seen it through my social media. And what it is nothing happens in life by chance. Everything happens by change, with change. And no change happens without action. And no action happens without intent. Simple, right? Well, guess what? Our guest today is the founder of Club Change. And it sounds interesting because, yes, she is actually really, her mission has been to help people change. And we can be part of that today. And change is good, right? So without any further ado, I have with me, Jill Thiry, and she is the one and the only to talk about change. And we're going to have a good interactive show today. So folks, let's get excited about this. Jill, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you, Hurricane. I am great. And thank you for inviting me onto your show.
It was my pleasure. It is my pleasure. We've been looking forward to this and we are excited you're here and we want to hear about change. But before we get into that, right, as always, the tradition is, let's talk about your journey. What gotten you to create, to found the club and really to build your mission?
Well, thank you for asking. And that, of course, is a big, long answer. But I'm really triggered by your quote, your initial quote, because I love it. Because so much is based on intention, but in general, we don't spend any time in intention. Like we plan a vacation and we spend more time thinking about how we're going to get there and how much it's going to cost. But what do we want to get out of that, right? What do we want to get out of our vacation? What's our intention for taking a vacation? So
that's deep.
And the Club Change basically came to me. So I think when you are open to your thoughts and your actions based from your intentions, literally things that were always out there, you just didn't see them. And when you're open to seeing them, they come into your life. And so my journey started literally, and I'm thinking a lot about this because it started after 9/11, 20 years ago. Wow. And I was a very successful corporate executive in the business-to-business publishing industry and doing my thing. And 3 out of my 4 magazines were in financial services based in New York City. And I had offices in San Francisco, New York, and I loved it. And I still love my whole journey to there. But at that year, the year after 2002, my life changed a lot. The dynamics of the industry changed. My employment situation changed. My relationship with my husband changed. A lot of things changed. And I started that year, I took a vacation. So funny that I'm mentioning a vacation. I went to a place called Rancho La Puerta in Tecate, Mexico. And I had never been to a spa before, but I just knew I didn't want to do anything I'd done before. I wanted to just explore new ground. So I did. And that year was the start of a journey of saying yes to new things. And Club Change didn't come instantly. Club Change is only about 1.5 years old. But that year I joined my father and my brothers in what they did was an annual they called it Boys Weekend. Now it's Family Retreat, but it was called Boys Weekend. And they invited me in that year because it was a year I got divorced and there was just a lot of change in my life. And it was highly impactful in just having this group of people that loved you, that could hold you accountable. And if you joined, you had to be honest and you had to be willing to track whatever it is you said you intended. You had to be willing to kind of go there. And with your father and your siblings, you can't call any bullshit on them, right? I mean, they know. They kind of chill.
Uh-huh.
And then you had to be willing to go back the next year and talk about it. And so I started that, and I started my trip to Rancho La Puerta. And those two things were places where I just started saying yes to new things that helped me be a human being in my heart, in my purpose, in my passion, listening to what I enjoyed versus my classic inclination, which is human doing, right? I want more money. I want a better car. I want the title. I want the, and that was 20 years ago. And this big life event, 9/11, literally helped pivot that. It allowed me to change, right?
Well, it was a changing moment in life, so in history. So yeah.
Right. So, but in some ways, so Club Change, the actual club the business that I formed happened because of the pandemic. I mean, it was, I've had this 20-year course of building this practice and building my coaching and teaching classes and intention setting and wanting to write a book about my dad's process, right? So all those things were kind of stirring. And then the pandemic hits, and I'm in my condo in San Diego, and I had a conversation with somebody, and he's like, Jill, who do you want to be at the end of this? And I was like, oh my God, I was so enthralled by that question that I started leaving notes all around my house, writing words down, thinking it was going to be 3 weeks when it ended up being, a year and a half now, right? But at that point in time, I was like,
again, in 2 years.
Oh, yeah, exactly. So I was like, okay, what do I want to see? And I took my own class. Like I literally did my own practice of word boarding and envisioning and choosing and practicing and talking and sharing. I've got a kind of an 8-step process that makes it easy. I did my own stuff, which I'd done before, but it was different this time. And I ended up with a mantra, and I'll share it with you. Maybe we'll mantra set at the end of this session, but I ended up with the mantra of wing it, which was the result of all of my exercises. And that allowed me to learn Zoom. I was like, I can do this online. I can do it from my dining room. I can help people change because everybody needs it right now, right? And I was leading chanting, and I was like, I can chant online because everybody needs it right now. And that is how Club Change got started.
I love it. Well, first of all, it's funny because you talked about you getting into that trip with your family, right? And as I listen to it, it's like the circle of friends and the circle of family and circle of trust. Once you're in it, you better, keep with the rules. So that's when the whole movie came to my mind, about the circle of trust. But the concept, you mentioned the key word in there, accountability. And we're going to talk about deep dive on that one. I mean, accountability is a lot for a lot of things, and pretty much everybody, one way or the other, needs to have some level of accountability in what they do, whether it's home, family, work, society, you name it, right? I mean, the pandemic, we have to be accountable for a lot of things in here, right? I mean, you mentioned, literally it started with a tragedy back, in 20 years ago. And again, the pandemic is another tragedy technically that occurred, and it's crazy. And that's the thing, that's life. There's events that happen all the time that affect us. But there's a big concept that we're talking about. I mean, obviously we're going to get into the club and the fundamentals of the club, but and the concept, right? But we understand the story now. We understand what drove you to it. And again, you also mentioned keyword, wing it, right? And we're going to get to that word as well. So I'm dissecting some of the things you talked about, and then we're going to really make them alive, right? So the first part is really just you had events and really a trigger moment. And just so you know, I don't know if you watched the last 2 shows, but somehow I did not plan this because these shows were literally booked months in advance. And it just happens that the last show was about renewal in life and resetting. The other one before that was about similar concept about, the status quo. And now we're talking about this. I mean, really, this couldn't possibly be a coincidence. And it is. It's almost like this is like the next chapter of the last 2. And it does talk about similar concept, and it's almost a relation to the other topics and the other shows. But the fact of the matter, we live in a world, we have things that happen to us all the time. But some people behave differently, obviously, in their own ways, right? And not everybody reacts the same way to certain things. But one thing in common that we all have is that we want to do things, and we do things. But you mentioned intention, and I kind of started a little bit earlier with that. Intention, to me, is everything. Because, I want to work out. Well, why do you want to work out? I want to be rich. Well, why do you want to show off, or to actually help people, or to have a better life? There's so many, like, intentions can be, even in crime, intention is key, right? That's what determines. And, so intention is a big deal. There's a whole investigative process to just find the intent of anything, right? In a criminal case. So intent is big. You want to go to college. Why? Do I want to be educated, or do I want to just get a degree so I can get a job? Do I want to get a job so I can get a better, financial, outcome, and so on and so forth. So intent is big. So how do you define intent in your world?
Well, you mentioned a couple of things. So intent is really the why, but a lot of people think the intent is the what or the how. Mm-hmm. So how we work with it in a club, and I work with it, is go ahead and kind of create your lists and your things, and also recognize the story that you've been telling yourself about the what's or the things all of your life, right? So recognizing that sometimes the way we think about the what's and even the whys is automatic and not an intent, not in our current affirmation. So I kind of let people know that your life is filled with this canyon of all the choices that you've made, and they're automatic. It's all automatic, but your intentions are kind of not in that habit. They're not in your canyon. They're not a habit. They're not a canyon. They're not automatic. They're not safe. They're not easy. They're not, they're not any of those things. And that's fine, right? As long as you spend some time to notice them. So you have an intention. I want to. So we work really, really hard on language and measurability, right? So I want to work out. Well, it's like, so not only like, why do you want to work out? Like, what does workout mean? What is that in very specific measurable terms? What are you willing to do to be in choice for working out versus in the automaticity of your behavioral habits? So I believe and have experienced with all my club members that we kind of dig this gorgeous canyon of like all the teachers we've had, all the experiences we've had, what our families taught us, what our friends have taught us, how we bumped our nose. And what happens is we kind of end up in this comfortable, safe, beautiful place. We all have beautiful lives, right? But our intentions are not in there, and they aren't automatic, and gravity doesn't help them. So when you at least spend enough time noticing what they are, identifying them, and languaging them in a way that might be a little edgy, but it becomes kind of a new affirmation so that it starts to come into these, I don't know what number you use, but I've heard anything from 20 to 90,000 thoughts a minute or a day, excuse me, and 90% of those are repeat thoughts, right? So that's the canyon, no matter how big or low or rigid or wide it is, that's there. And these intentions aren't in there. So we create a way that you can practice saying, I will work out. And then a mantra, which is the why. So if you answer the question, why do I, if you narrowed it down, we do some word boarding, but if you narrowed it down to one word, I said, this is why I want to work out. Mm-hmm. And you practice that word by I choose that word. I choose to wing it, right? This has helped me. I choose to wing it. I am winging it. I will wing it. That's not, oh my God, I want to be in perfectionism or, procrastination or whatever. No, it's like, oh, no, I'm in choice. I want this intention. I'm willing to say it, think it, breathe it, and be held accountable to whatever little baby step I decide to take and be proud of. And stay out of judgment. That's a lot. I know that's a lot, but
no, that's great. That's great. That's a lot actually. Yeah, but we gotta dive in more. So you said, it's funny because you said wing it, and most of people think wing it is just doing it ad hoc, right? But really, in your case, that wing it was a goal. And as a matter of fact, it was a decision made to wing it. So it was a conscious, change made behavior that you've assigned yourself as a target. And so you planned for it. So your intent was to really wing it. And it's not just like, let's just, you're talking, oh, I'm just going to wing it. You actually wanted to wing it to see how what's the outcome of it. And that's different, because most people may be like, what, isn't that contradictory? You have targets and you have this, but you just winging them. In this case, it's different. And I can see that, because normally anybody, to have a nice little outcome for anything, to your point, it starts with that intent. Why do I want to do this? And again, the why is key for everyone. Everybody has their own why. And then there is the goal. You want to dream. What's that dream's going to look like? You want to focus on that dream, and you want to take steps, on the couple of shows back, we had this whole thing about fail to plan, plan to fail, or prior planning, prevents poor performance. So we use those type of, proverbs or sayings, So we did, yes. And we did that, and it's the same concept. Like I said, it's almost related, but you're planning with a true intent of something. You want to do something to achieve something, and you're doing whatever, and you put in all the necessary steps to get there. And that's actually good for life, good for any age, good for business, and and life more than anything else, because business work is part of life, and it is just a little bridge to whatever we want. So you intend to be rich, and there's two ways to do this. You can work for it, or you can just be a business person, and same thing, you got to work for it. Just you work for someone to make a lot of money, or you work for yourself and make money for yourself, whatever the case may be. But those are just two venues or ways to get there. At the end, if the intent is to be rich, is you got to get there. So how do I get there? Now that's the other pieces, right? And so I got to go to school. I got to go this major. I got to do this one. I got to do the other one. I have to start a business, whatever the case. And also, there are challenges for that purpose, because your intent can also be almost influenced, because, well, your actions will be influenced. If you have true intent, you might not have anybody, deter you from it. Because if I do intend to do something, and I really take charge of that thing, and I'm accountable for myself for those thoughts that I have. And by the way, the last count of our thoughts today was about 60,000. At least that was on the show Saturday. So I learned that trick.
Good. Okay,
yeah.
Great.
So we confirming that. So definitely a lot of thoughts coming into our minds, and it's just a matter of how do we process them. But really, you're right. I mean, you set a set of intentions, and it could be one, it could be multiples, depending on what you want. And then you start a set of steps, that will deliver the intent in terms of a dream, of a target, an action. In your case, you wanted to wing it and live a different life and just figure out how it's going to work. Some people will have the same intent you mentioned very easy, travel. Again, we all want to travel, but why do you want to travel? Just because we want to travel? Do we want to visit the world? Do we want to decompress? Do we want to have an easier life and just come back, refreshed to work? There's many things. Do we want to sightsee? Do we want to discover the world? But again, what is the intent? And that should be a good goal, meaning that if I have a true, measure of why I'm doing something, then you should be able to get that goal eventually. By obviously, if you don't do you can intend all you want. If you don't take action, it's not going to happen. So that's like a whole equation. You have to have all these steps to be there. And at the end of it, you'll get whatever you want. So, and then ultimately you can have change. You can make change. And that's the other part. People are afraid of change, right? So in your world, you said all these things and you get people to really believe in the intent piece and they understand it. But then what if they're not willing to change or they're afraid of change? How do you deal with that?
Well, so those are great questions. And our process, so you mentioned, and languaging is really important in the clubs, right? So the way I get people to not be afraid of change is we start with just this complimentary set your intention class, and we just I say popcorn words. So I ask a bunch of questions and people just throw words onto like a word board. And then we do a visioning exercise and we come in touch with our heart and we choose one or two to focus on. And that becomes our mantra. So that was like my wing it. And that wing it answer was the answer to a question, or the visual that I got when I asked myself the question is, what have I always wanted to be? And one of my words was a bird, like I wanted to fly like a bird. But I knew that my intention was to create this business and honor my father. And so wing it ended up being my mantra. So from there, we kind of explore the why in a really open, safe, easy way on a piece of paper with a bunch of words. And then what I've found is then we kind of reverse engineer it to the practices that will get you there. So, and we attempt not to call them goals, because trust me, I'm very goal driven. I make lists of lists. I love the accountability. I love the whole process, but we call them gifts and we call them commitments. So when you can, or when you do in a club, lock down on a mantra, which would be the intention, the why, and then reverse engineer that and say, okay, what are some practices that you can do? And when you think backwards about that, and we spend a lot of time watching our language to not create any shame or guilt. So if we catch ourselves saying, I should do this, I need to do this, I have to do this, like those are all such self-criticism. We're so good at being critical of ourselves, right? And so all those phrases send us into that canyon of judgment and criticism. And, oh my God, I've been trying to do this forever. I should be able to work out 1,000,000 times a week. Why am I not losing 20 pounds? Blah, 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 blah. But when we notice, when we say that, and we say, oh, I'm in a place where it hasn't worked for me. And we reframe that and say, I might choose, and or I commit to, and we identify small practices. This is where the accountability comes in. And the practices are doable by you. They're not controlled by the weather or your pets or your spouses or your clients or whatever. And they're measurable, and they could have two numbers to them, like a frequency and a depth of time. And they're kind. So they're easy, because then it gets to honesty again, right? So then when you say, okay, I am this, I choose this, I'll commit to these 3 kind, easy peasy, almost do it in my sleep practices that are going to get me that then starts to be the air underneath your wings, whatever your mantra is, but wing it is working for us today. That starts to kind of build confidence as you're kind of crawling out of this automatic canyon of yours and nurturing some new little rivulets into your canyon. And that's how we get people out of the fear place. We notice language. People don't have to share. They don't have to share out loud. It's all in the comfort of their living room on a piece of paper. I think it's good to share, because then you're more inclined to be accountable. Like when you're saying these things on air, suddenly it's like, oh, I can't spin this now. This is like my own personal integrity.
I know.
Yeah. So those are some of the ways that we really focus on being loving and kind and calling them gifts, because here's my biggie. I would love everybody in the world to have their own club change. But my biggie is, what is more important in life than your health and wellness?
I've stated before, nothing.
So if in one of these sessions or in a club, you can identify one thing that right now, today, in this moment, is beneficial for your health and wellness, and you identify that and you say, wow, this would be a great next step to enhance my health and wellness. And then you spend some time identifying gifting practices that you can give yourself, and you practice it. Like we put our mantras, I encourage people to like tape up this little word and put it up all over, on your mirror, on your monitor, in your car, on your refrigerator. So that every time you see it, you're like, oh yeah, this can be one of my 60,000 affirmations today. This can be my mantra, because you know what? It's a gift to me. It's not a shoulda, coulda, have to, need to, blah, blah, blah. It's a, wow, I get to like honor my health and wellness.
I have to say, I love the concept of how you break it down, because you're basically making it very simple and easy to absorb, and with no pressure. I mean, you almost make it sound like pressure-free world, because there is no stigma. There's, to your point, there's no force that needs to do. I do it at my own pace, which is a good place to be, because that's when people buy in a concept. If you really push them too hard, they're just going to resist. By default, we resist everything when it's too much force. So it's almost like, you know, the way the winds, you let them just go with the flow. But within, to your point, you set in just the canyon and they can just go anywhere they want, left, right, forward, but they're within the same realm. So it's the same, like I use similar concept in training and in team leadership building, and it's very simple. We all have to be on the same train. Now, once you're in the train, you can sleep, you can be in the bar, you can be, you know, at the restaurant, you can walk through the train, you can go to the bathroom. I don't care what you do, but you still go into the same pace. We're all in there, but everybody can do their own thing. You get them into that canyon, you get them into the flow, and now they can certainly just do their own thing based on their own pace. Not everybody's going to be at the same level. And that's the other thing, to understanding that. I think it's important. And I think this can apply to a lot of concepts. And as a matter of fact, this could be a concept training too, because in a team or in business or anything, even family, you know, people have to have those levels to understand where they are. And this can be literally applied everywhere. But your concept is like, you have now a team that helps you to get there. You have a concept, you belong. That's also important.
It's
exactly.
A club. It's
you
your
belong,
club.
and that's the other thing. You belong to. And by the way, the word club here is awesome because we all tend to belong to some clubs. Some are good, some are bad. You know, I'm not even judging here, but you know, but at the end of the day, it's good to be part of a club. It's good to be part of a crew and an entourage, and it's not just you by yourself. Like you belong to some cause, some fun stuff. So that's super. I mean, I love it. And so my question to you is, people join, right? And how long does it take them to really, you know, get into the swing of things and make it happen? And they can see like, oh my God, this is like, poof, eureka, I got this. So what is that experience, and what is the time frame that may take someone? Obviously, I'm sure it varies, but.
Well, and I'm sure you have your own experience. So I'm gonna be looking forward, because I've listened to you and I know you're gonna have your own. But in my experience, in the club experience,
Yeah.
It takes people, the average human being, anywhere from 20 to 90 days to bring a new behavior into their canyon, into their life, right? But some people, of course, are exceptions, right? Like some people are just super committed, depending on how committed you are and how important or urgent it is. Like I quit smoking 20 years ago. I literally walked out of the doctor's office, threw my cigarettes, you know, after years of being a pack-a-day smoker, and just said, I'm done. And I was done. I haven't touched a cigarette since then, right? So, but on average, it takes people 20 to 90 days to bring in a new habit into their canyon, into their life. So what we do, what I do at the clubs, is you can come to just one set your intentions class. And if we have time today, we could do one little exercise that'll kind of give people a little taste of that.
Oh, love it.
But, yeah, you think we'll have time?
Yeah.
Cool. So, so they'll come to something I call set your intention class. It's pretty self-explanatory. And people bring sheets of paper, and I ask a bunch of questions, and they word board a bunch of questions, and we do some breathing and exercising. We come to, and they choose a word, and they end that 60-minute session, usually 45 to 60 minutes, with a mantra and 3 practices that they can do with whatever they choose. I say, okay, put it in your house, put it everywhere, practice it now. Practice it at least for the next 3 weeks, which gets them to the 20 days. And part of my steps is not just to identify, so I call them the 8 steps. So it's sit down, show up for yourself, think about it, write it down, envision it, choose, practice, track, share, right? So when they come to the set your intention class, 8 easy steps to make it easy. So that change is not scary. Some people will just go and run with that. But the majority of people, after they come to that class, will sign up for a club. And the club is actually an 8-week club. And I start one every month. One starts on Sundays and goes for 2 months. And then the next month it starts on Wednesdays and goes for 2 months, so that people can do either a midweek or week. And we show up every week for our club. And we share, and we practice, and we track, and we are honest with ourselves. Maybe you're honest with yourself on a piece of paper, or maybe you're the one person on that week's class that can share verbally with the rest of the club. maybe you choose not to, but we celebrate our victories, and we accept and absorb and receive all the additional gifts that we didn't even think about when we start doing these small practices. Like, the cool thing is when you make it really kind and easy and doable, it just feeds on itself. And you're like, oh my God, I thought I was doing it for this, but I'm also, my skin looks better and I have more energy and all this other stuff. And so we spend a little time thinking about the other gifts of being in choice with our intention. But we also are honest, and we don't go into guilt and shame and, oh my God. No, we say, okay, what got in your way? Can you look at honestly what you chose instead of that easy practice? Maybe you weren't kind enough with yourself. Maybe you need to make it even kinder and easier. Maybe this other choice that you have is a more important choice for you right now. And that's okay too. Like, to be in choice with how you practice your practices as well, instead of being in guilt and shame and all that ugly stuff, right? And as a club, it works. I mean, I've spent 20 years practicing this myself. And when you're in choice and noticing your thoughts, or noticing even, I'll call them bad behaviors, but even just notice when I'm doing things like, maybe not, I'm not a great listener. I interrupt a lot. I move fast. I talk fast. I do fast. And like, that is so in my blood and it's just in my everything. But you know what? As I practice this slowly but surely, I'm even changing that, because I'm noticing when I do it more often. And instead of shaming myself, I'm like, oh, shoot, Jill, you just did that again. And I'll be honest, I'll either tell the person, it's like, I'm sorry, I'm really trying to work on this, or I'll call them the next day and say, I noticed I interrupted, or I steamrolled right over you, and blah, 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 blah. And you know what? It's liberating. It's liberating to be in choice and not in judgment for yourself. And it brings me peace, along with, chanting and meditating and yoga and all the other practices that I have brought into my life because of my own club change practices.
Well, I have to say, your club is genius. and hold on, let me say why I say that. I mean, you really just gave a body system, a support system, a whole different way of engaging with people. And this is not about addiction, about anything. This is just about how to be better. And I mean, actually, even addiction clubs, I mean, for that same reason, to move away from bad habits to good habits. This is just, there is no bad habits, and even someone did have them, they probably can change through this and be for the better. So you create a whole environment that is, even the fact that you just call the goals gifts, because technically anything that we achieve is a gift. so I mean, that is a very smart way to look at it. I mean, just, what am I gifting myself today? Well, the gift of health. Okay, well, how are we going to do this, right? So let's work on that. And then you have that whole concept of the first 20 days, and then you have 8 weeks later on. And I'm sure if someone does not make it in that time, they can still continue, until they get to the point. That's the other part. Again, no pressure. I don't have time. Now, you do emphasize on accountability and trust, and that's important, because if you cannot really be, accountable to a certain degree, you're not going to be able to get anything done, right? That's important. So I think that's very key. But then also you create awareness, because I think the way you describe it, I mean, I'm just hearing this. I mean, you become aware, and that's the other part. I think a lot of us may not always be aware of things until we're practicing to be and we talked about this literally 2 days ago about being mindful of this, and that's a key element. So you are covering a lot of the stuff that is almost elemental and fundamental to a behavior change. I mean, if we had a psychologist, psychiatrist today with us, they'll have a fun with with this particular topic, and really, because this is really behavior change, right? Or it's amazing that you can take somebody and transform them, and not only transform them, give them the opportunity to change their life. And that's the biggest part. I mean, anyone, at any given day, I think they think about how they can do a better, in anything, whether it's their business, their work, their family, their relationships, even how to communicate. It's as easy as that. Like, to your point, sometimes we overdo it. We either over aggressive, we're very quiet, we're just not really. And some of us like I think I found my match. So you and I were like almost the same, so we love to jump and talk, but so energy levels are very, different, right? So some people have more than others, but at the end of the day, you're not, given a stigma to any group or any particular person. Everybody can do it at their own pace, cadence, and do it to the point where they see it like, oh my God, this is good. It's like almost a therapy, and it's a good therapy because it makes your life better and you are changing for the best. So, hey, listen, this is a good club, that we want to all belong to. I hope that a lot of people today, like whether they want to belong to it, test it out, or even at least, take the concept. I mean, that's great. And that's a good question to you. Is this open to everybody?
Yes. So in my perfect world, and you're absolutely right, like I call myself just a professional student of change, right? And I have business degrees and I teach a bunch of fitness stuff at Rancho La Puerta and some intention setting classes, but this is like my father's. I feel in some ways it started with my father's legacy, and I just want to share it with. So if everyone came to a club change and did the practice once or twice, right, and then formed their own club and did it on their own, like I'm in the process, hopefully, of writing a book that is going to help people step through this process so that everybody has their own club changes, and it just gets contagious all over the world, and everybody gets comfortable with change. And it's kind of like a book club for behavior change. It's like, okay, I got my book club and then I've got my club change. And
you create chapters.
Yeah, exactly. And they can help me write chapters. Actually, I've got some, if somebody wanted to volunteer to be my guinea pig to like read my chapters and see if it helps them do the club, I'm kind of at that stage right now. I'm getting there, but which is exciting. But anybody can come. I do a set your intentions class for free the first Sunday of every other month or the first Wednesday of every other month. So my next set your intentions class is on Wednesday, November 3rd, because I just started my Club Change Ocho. So anybody can come there, and they do need Zoom. So they need internet on their phone or their computer and a couple of sheets of paper, and that's all they need. And we spend 60 minutes creating these word boards and doing some breathing exercises and choosing and writing words and writing practices, and maybe somebody shares, maybe not. And then they're done. And I encourage everybody, I was like, okay, go tape your word all over and then track your practices every night, every week, and go do that for 3 weeks. But I then encourage people, if they haven't joined the club, which does cost, but it costs $89. I want it to be super accessible for 2 months. So to me, it's less than a price of a fancy cup of coffee every week. Come join this club and be accountable to yourself, and come to this meeting every week and check in. And be willing to do each one of the steps. And those last steps are practice and track and share. And you don't have to share out loud, but you have to share with yourself. You have to be honest of, okay, I did this and it brought me all these wonderful gifts, or I chose something different and here's what's got in the way. And so next week I'm going to change my practices a little bit so that I do give myself this gift in a new way. I'm going to learn by what I chose, and I'm going to reverse engineer my practices to give me this happy course and carve my rivulet into my new canyon. And so we do that for 8 weeks, and it's processed like we write ourselves a little love letter. So we do some envisioning for what your life looks like at the end of 8 weeks. We talk about outcomes, so we celebrate all the other relationship outcomes that come and we list them. We share obstacles. We do some sensory exercises around obstacles. And all of this, I have to tell you, Hurricane, it just has been gifted to me in doing it and learning and going from it. And I mean, some people come to these clubs with really broad intentions like joy. And you know what? They leave with joy. Like they come each week with like, oh my God, I practiced joy. Like, and I hadn't really even thought about it before. And so they just bring all this joy to the meeting. Or it's something big like, oh my God, I'm thinking about retiring, right? Or changing my relationship with my spouse or whatever, or changing careers. And it can work for all of those things. It like doesn't matter. So it can work for anybody. All they need to do is have time, come on Zoom. And if they want to join a club, they do have to part with $89 for 2 months.
Well, I want to say this. I mean, first of all, you said that the first session it's just free, right? There's no cost to it. That set the intention session. Then you said it. Zoom is available. I think everybody has. You can download it free anyways, and you can still do it. And frankly, you were actually very decent when you said a cup of coffee for a month. I think it costs a lot more than $89 if you did a cup of Starbucks these days, and that will add up to a lot more than that. But just the way you break it down in 8 sessions, well, 8, I think that's about 8 or 9 sessions.
8 steps and 8 sessions. Yep, it's both.
So 8 sessions. 8. So 8 sessions, and those 8 sessions, I mean, that's like $10 a session. That's like, it's really a good investment if you want to. And again, I'm not endorsing the price or anything. And people can say, well, I don't want to have time to spend $89. I know that, and this is for everybody watching and listening. We all find money to do things, whether we like them or not. Sometimes if we want something bad enough, we'll find the money for it. And one thing that we're all cheap about is ourselves, and to invest in ourselves. And frankly, I've had these arguments, like especially in the gym, and you ask people like, well, this membership is too expensive. Well, why? Well, I can't afford it. Do you actually go and do this and this every week and spend $20? Yeah, there you go. If you go to the movies,
the other thing I find, Hurricane, is that I did do it free initially during the pandemic because I just okay. And the truth is, if people don't invest a little bit of money, it's not the amount of money. It's just okay, I invested in this, I'm going to do it. Even if it was $1, people would be more likely to show up for themselves every week for just 60 minutes a week. And I work in the fitness industry as well. I work half the week at Rancho La Puerta in Mexico. And the first time I went there 20 years ago it was transformative for me. I mean, it was my first yoga classes then, and my first Pilates classes, and my first pescatarian diet for a week. And I just did all these things that slowly but surely. And I look at people now who say they can't afford whatever, right? But the food or the workout. And it's can you look at it, like you said, as an investment in your health? It's probably going to save you that amount of money in doctor bills or therapy bills or, injury prevention or drugs or whatever when you invest in your own health. So it's an investment. It's not a cost. It's an investment.
Well, not only that, I mean, see, I always try to look at things positively. And the way I would even break it down easier than that is if you want to go to college to learn, 1 credit, it will cost you a lot more than that. Just to pick one chapter, one thing, one item that you want to learn, as even a continuing education concept, right? So this is actually real life education and real practices. And there's nothing better than real practices and also sharing with other people that have similar, visions or at least, intentions.
Yeah, I like that. I like that a lot.
So at the end of the day, we do spend money. And again, and not everybody can afford, the money all the time and things like that. But sometimes we save money for a pair of sneakers, shoes, a dress, or something that can be maybe postponed 2 months later. But again, earlier you said something about what's more important. There's nothing more important than health and wellness. And some people well, there's family, there's this. All of that is important. But if you're not healthy and well, you're not going to be able to attend to them.
Exactly.
So yes, people may what are you talking about? I have more important things. Well, yeah, but they are important. But if you're not really good for them, you're not really that helpful to yourself or to them. So you always have to take care of this, number one, right? And then take care of all your loved ones and things like that. So that's the challenge. And, if you're not healthy, if you're not ready, if you're not in the right place, you can't do anything for your loved ones, right? And your society, your community, your work, your colleagues, your team, if you're part of a team, doesn't matter. But invest in something like this, and it's even time. Some people say, well, I don't have the time. Well, it's 1 hour. I guarantee you, most of us spend about an hour watching a flick or something on TV, or maybe Netflix and maybe a series, and we spend a lot more time on social media. Let's call it this way. Even if I don't watch TV or watching the news, and and frankly, it's all depressing. So,
I know.
but that's the thing. So we just have to be more, I guess, aware and willing. That's the bottom line. So anyone listening, I mean, this is not, you're not forced to do this. This is, you have the choice. You have many choices. There are many ways you can actually improve yourselves, but this is a good way to do it. And it's even as an experience. I mean, sometimes we do things just for experience. You go to a Broadway show, or I mean, for New Yorkers, you go to, I don't know, in New York, the Statue of Liberty, something different just as an experience. I've been there, done that. Well, you could do this. Let me be part of this club and see what's up. And there's other clubs, I mean, we've heard about fight clubs. so you can go to fight clubs, right? And then you can do this as well. You can have just a laughter club. You can go to comedy club,
Right.
You can just go to club change. So, it's all fun. I mean, yeah, it's just how you position yourself. Everybody has its own way of I guess, dealing with life. But if it's going to be something to learn how to cope with life, how to be better, how to improve your life, we all want to improve our lives. I don't think anyone listening right now, I want my life to be worse than now. I don't think that is a case, and doesn't matter what level we are in terms of, age or business or wealth. We all want to do better. And it's funny. There was this little post there that I saw on Facebook. This guy who has a bike, and he's walking, and he sees this guy on the bike. He's like, I want to have a bike. And the guy with the bike, he sees someone with a car. I want to have the car. The other guy with the car sees a better car. He's like, I want a Ferrari. The one Ferrari sees a helicopter. He's like, I want a helicopter. Want a yacht. Everybody wants to improve their life to the next and legs and legs, and we never say enough, But it all happens with how you change your mindset, you change your behavior, you change your lifestyle. And you might not be able to do that if you don't have the tools to do it. And not everybody has the tools to do it by default. Sometimes we need to be part of, a contagious, environment that can give us that. And that's why it is always recommended to hang out around positive people that will always encourage you, as opposed to put you down and discourage you. And, oh my God, you're not going to do this. It's like, they're just basically, they don't want anyone to. And by the way, those people too, they should, maybe if they're listening, please feel free to actually get contagious with us and get with us here, because it's the idea of, this is all about positivity. It's all about changing your life to better. Nothing that we share, at least not in our mission here at the studio, is all about one thing and one thing alone. That is to educate and inspire. Well, it's more than one thing, few concepts in one, but the idea is to be positive and to share good stuff with people. And you guys are, like, you are the guest today, and you are giving us a whole way out, So yeah, you want to say something? Sorry.
I just want to say another big important part of this is envisioning. And so we, every week, every meeting, we do a little bit of breath work where we literally sit and we just kind of call this our container, and we close our eyes and we do some breath work, and we allow our breath to both give and receive kind words to ourselves, because I find that as human beings, we're not always really kind to ourselves. And you're right, this whole concept of belonging and accepting that just sitting here, right this moment, wherever you are, yes, you want to be better, but noticing how that's a future state, and noticing how that future state is different than just being present with who you are right now. And that in this practice, you're more likely to bring in a different future state if you love and accept yourself as you are right now, as this beautiful gift to each breath and to each moment. And so it sounds kind of woo-woo, but it doesn't. We do it as a group. But it's helpful to just kind of breathe in and reframe some of that self-talk that says, I am a gift and I am enough right now, and I belong to this body, this mind, this spirit right now. And even if I don't do this thing, it's okay. I'm okay. I'm a gift to this moment, and I'm a better gift that's maybe more gift wrapped when I notice things that can add value in my life, which you're right, do. The minute and I'm sorry, I've got an ambulance driving by.
It's okay. I'm in New York. I hear that all the time.
Good. So when I kind of add value to myself, when I am the best person I can be, and I'm in integrity and at peace with that, like, and not grasping to be something different than what I just literally am, I am a better gift than to everybody else around me, right? I'm a better gift than to my kids, to my parents, to my siblings, to my friends, to my clients, to the world. And like, so when we all do that, so it somehow it works. It works magic. I don't claim to be any expert. You know, I'm not a psychologist or psychiatrist. I am trained in a lot of things, but you know what? This has been a gift that's been given to me, and I've noticed it with an open heart and open mind. And I've always been a teacher, and so that's what I'm doing.
Well, and you're doing excellent, and you're right. I mean, we don't usually give ourselves that, you know, a nice little pat on the shoulder or on the back. We don't sometimes self-talk, and that's actually not, when I say we, I mean, I can't generalize. I mean, there are people that are aware and they can, you know, they look at themselves like, what am I doing, and start like having these self-discussions, and that's great to have, but not everybody has that habit. And again, by being around that environment and getting trained to do that, that's going to help you like almost become a new person. Oh man, where was this person, right? You know, and to your point also, everyone, you know, by getting better in whatever they want, they'll also be better members of society, family, community, and their contributions will be much more, you know, productive, you know, as a whole. So there's no down to this. There's no downside to this. It's all upside. I mean, no matter how you cut it, there's nothing to it that is bad. Even just, I mean, we go socialize at a bar, right? Or at a club just to chat with people. Well, guess what? I can join the club and chat and get something out of it. Other than, you know, getting, you know, maybe wasted and just go home later on like, what the hell just happened, right? You know, so again, that's as simple as that. But, you know, people go to the gym, you know, to change and get fit and stuff, and that's great, you know. But that doesn't help them sometimes. It may help them change physically. Maybe that's the intent and that's the goal. They want to just be, you know, super fit, or maybe they want to have, you know, a good body for the summer or for a wedding dress, whatever the case may be. But that's still good. But, you know, this goes beyond that. This goes beyond, you know, just a limited, you know, target or gift. This is anything in your life you can make a change for. But again, remember what I said earlier. This is not happening by chance. This is something that you have to be aware of. You have to take action. You have to take steps for it. And you got to be like, you know, hey, I want to do this. You know, let me do it. And anyone that will even attempt to do this will probably see results from day one. Just the fact that you can talk about it. The fact that we're talking about right now is making a difference. I can see it, right? If someone is listening right now, they'll be like, well, first they can say this guy talks too much, but that's okay. I'm supposed to do that. I'm a talk show, you know, guy here. But at the end of the day, it's really for the people. I mean, some of these concepts I believe in, and I apply them for myself. But I'm always learning. Like every time I meet a new guest on the show, I am picking up a lot of vibe. I'm picking up new ways, and I'm learning what's available out there as resources. And that's really it. This is a resource for everybody else. Everybody out there that are listening, and this is worldwide too. So therefore, you can be anywhere and still benefit from this. That's the other part. You don't have to be literally in California or in Jersey or New York. You can be in Canada. You can be in Australia. This is available, and maybe there's other clubs out there. Who knows? And probably there are. And right. You know, but here's the good news: you have a formula. It makes sense. It's very easy. It's cozy. You can do it from home, and it will make, you know, it will change your life. For real. And that's really something that you have to all, you know, be with in terms of the discussion here today. I think, I mean, just listen, like I said, I am walking like, yeah, I love this, you know, and you know, I belong, right? And so that's the concept here. We can all belong to any club, and yet obviously we want to be in your club and certainly like experience your way of doing it. And the way you're breaking it down, you have it to almost a science. You know, I mean, you really have different sessions for different things, and you tackle different and address different angles of how the mind works, how the whole emotions are working, and you're doing it in a long term. By the way, a lot of gyms use that same concept. Since you're talking about gym, you know, and you're a part of the world of fitness, a lot of gyms do that. You have to be like committed to 8 weeks or like 12 weeks to any program, you know, to see some transformation, right? And this is exactly it. You're committing, you know, 8 weeks. I mean, 1 hour, that's like nothing. I mean, you really are just committing time for your own self. Like that's like almost take a sabbatical, think about a meditation, whatever it is. This is just for you, your own me time. and the rest
Oh,
is
it's a
yours.
good idea, though. I should go to some local gyms and say, hey, we should work together.
Yeah,
That's a good business idea.
there you go. Because I mean, it is. I mean, transformation is one thing, but sometimes some of the what I've noticed, or at least based on different, I guess, membership, experiences at the gym, is that some folks, because they can't have other changes in their life, they may not be able to get the results they want at the gym. So
Right.
sometimes you need to learn how to make different things in your life, in a certain way to be able to, for example, the first excuse, like, well, I have no time.
Right.
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 Or I don't have the money, or I don't have this. They give you all the objections of why they cannot do it, as
Right.
opposed to finding every way possible that you can do it. And that's the other thing.
Right.
That's the other way to look at things. If we change our mindset just to always think about how many ways we can do, something versus how many ways we cannot do it, that's going to make a big difference. Simple.
No,
So
I mean, that's kind of like the law of attraction, right? So
it works.
to spend time in what yeah, exactly.
We spend the same energy. I think probably less energy the other way.
So, and even in the clubs, when we meet every week, we actually spend some time practicing saying our mantra. So that you, even if you haven't done it at your house and haven't taped it around, because I also lead chanting classes, and there's something super magical and important about breath and sound vibrations, that when you actually say it, when it comes out of your mouth, from your gut, through your heart, out of your mouth, it helps. It helps to bring it into your life, right? Like you get to do this. Now you should do this. I am, I will, I choose. Like you say that, you practice what you want to become by being that thing right now.
I think that's plenty for people. If you're listening, this is exactly the formula. If you keep saying to yourself something, and that's the other thing. I mean, if you keep saying to something, I'm not good, and you feed in that, you're always not going to get a positive outcome. You say, I'm good, I can do this, and I will do this, and I can do this. I mean, literally, like I put a TikTok about a month ago, and all it says is, I can do this. Repeat after me. I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And I said, no, you can't. So it was just like that. But that's really the concept. I mean, and by the way, I used whatever I put out is really something that I believe in, or I practice myself. And so it helps me, and it gets me through a lot of stuff where other people may have different struggles. I'm like, okay, I can manage better. This is not about me, really. It's just I'm sharing my experience, just as you're saying, you're sharing yours here. But that's really what works, and for me. Now, everybody's different, but they can all. But I know for a fact that we all can agree to one thing, and that we all want to be better.
Yeah.
So earlier you mentioned something about giving us a little sample here.
Yeah. So if you have a sheet of paper, pull out that sheet of paper.
I actually don't.
You don't. Okay.
Not in this set here. So.
All right. So let's think about whether you have a phone, but so that's okay.
Actually,
so
let me see if I think I could figure this out.
Yeah, a little scope, any piece of paper. Okay. So what I recommend you do right now, and that all of your listeners do, is to get comfortable in where they're sitting. So first, let's just take a moment to pull your ears over your shoulders. You're not going to write yet. You're not going to write. Put your pen down.
I'm not writing it.
Okay.
I was just ready.
Put your hands on your thigh, palms up, eyes closed. Because you'll notice just that process in and of itself opens your heart up, relax your shoulders, and it aligns your spine, or this container that your mind and body and spirit are in right now. And just take a moment to breathe in up the front from your belly button, up over your chest, through the front of your head, and out the back of the crown of your head. That's your inhale. And as you exhale, keep that crown of your head extended as you exhale, and just receive from the sky or from the universe some breath. And while you continue to breathe at this cycle, nice and thoughtful cycle through your nose, I want you to empty out the space in your skull. There's nothing behind your eyeballs. There's nothing between your ears, just this blank space. And what I'd like you to do is look at and or think in that space of any words that would end this sentence. What would bring me joy in this next week? Go ahead and breathe each one of those thoughts, words, or visions into this space in your skull. And as you exhale, receive those words into your space right now. So you're simply being in a place of joyful thoughts and intentions. What, who, why, where would bring me joy in this next week? And as you're breathing in those words and thoughts, be in a pleasant space yourself. Maybe kind of allow your lips to turn up into a kind of joyful place right this moment, thinking about joyful things. And as you're in this place, put your right hand on your heart and your left hand on your stomach and just feel yourself giving and receiving all of these joyful things. Be in joy right now and keep your eyes closed, but tuck your chin in. So now you're facing a blank piece of paper. And not yet, but when I tell you to in a moment, when you open your eyes, you'll write down these words or thoughts, and you'll write them not in a list. You'll write them like sideways and backwards and big and small and upside down, and use the whole sheet of paper. So with your eyes closed, stay with me here and inhale one more time in this joyful place, and exhale out and down over this sheet of paper. And now I'd like you to open your eyes and write down words, any way, shape, or size on your piece of paper. And it's better if these joyful thoughts or visions are just one word, or what I call popcorn kernels, like 2-word clusters. So you are creating a joy word board. It's not a vision board, it's a word board. This is one of the practices we do in Club Change. So we create word boards, and this is just my special hurricane word board, everybody's special hurricane. So you've got it? Okay. So now you've got a lot of words there. So now what I want you to do is put your hands upside down on top of all those words and close your eyes again, palms up. So it's down on your lap or on your desk. Close your eyes one more time. And be with all of those words equally. Like, so have compassion and equanimity for all of those words. And breathe in from your heart again. Be in here and now. Some circular breathing. And maybe hum as you exhale in the thought of all of these words being in your life next week in a joyful way. And I want you to keep your eyes closed and tuck your chin in. Keep your eyes closed. And this time when you open your eyes, I want you to circle just one of those words. So inhale again from your gut, from the center of the earth. Just be super grounded in you and your heart and your spirit where you are. And now open your eyes and circle the one that really touches your heart. You got one?
You got one.
Do you want to share it or no?
Sure. Vacation, actually.
Vacation. Okay. So now you've got your mantra for this next week. Now what I'd like you to write, so I would like you to tape the word vacation all over your house or your office or your car, wherever you spend a lot of time. And now what I want you to do on the back side of that piece of paper is write down 3 easy peasy, tiny little practices that you can do in the next 7 days that are specific, measurable, actionable, kind, and time-based. So each one of those has 2 little numbers to it. So, I will spend a minimum of X number of minutes thinking about or researching or exploring places to go. Or so, I'm just giving you an example. But you want it to be super easy to do in the next 7 days, within the next 7 days.
I like that. The smart objectives.
Yeah. But it's smacked. They're not smart. I changed it to smacked.
I noticed.
Yeah. Kind. Because when we said, I was, trust me, getting my MBA, it was like we had the BHOGs, right? Big, hairy ass goals that we had to do. And that was fine because it set you halfway on your path. But it's so much better to set the gift here and overachieve it, and be in that place of successful journey, because it's all just a path. It's not just the destination. It is the journey. So when can we can be kind and loving to ourselves on the journey, guess what? It freaking happens.
It does. And by the way, if you believe in something and you will do it. But again, it starts with that core intent that is real and taking the necessary steps to do that. I mean, I was thinking about vacation because I really need one.
You're choosing. You don't need one. You are choosing now to focus on one.
I am choosing to have one, and I literally want to have one. so definitely I'm choosing to have one. And it's funny because this is like in our world of insurance, this is like open season. so I'm trying to figure out what kind of vacation I could possibly have. So I have an idea.
Awesome. And so be super kind to yourself and just take little steps and allow that vision of the vacation to be open and change, but dedicate a little bit of time, some metric, a little bit of achievable metric this week to vacation, whatever that is. Maybe it's a vacation just in your mind's eye. Who knows how vacation's going to come to you when you're open to it this week.
That's right. And by the way, I think I have a way, so it's going to work.
Awesome. That's great.
So that was fun, actually. I mean, I enjoyed it. But it's the whole experience, and you're right. It puts you in that mind. It puts you in that set where you can actually deliver that. But knowing also you're doing it with other people, and that's also another plus. I mean, I'm hoping people watching us right now or listening would have done the exercise with us at the same time. That would be fun.
Yeah.
I'd be curious to hear what they have to say, but yeah, that was good. That was good. So this is the first stage, basically. That's the first part of the first session.
Yeah, well, that's just a mini subset of what would be 2 word boards that we create in the first Set Your Intentions session. And in that session, the first word board is kind of focused on the next 2 months, because that's the bandwidth of time that really brings behavior change. And then the second word board we do on the whole canyon, like it's big life questions about things that you love and things that you'd like to make time for, and just all those things that we think restrict us, but when we allow ourselves to go there. And then we net all that down to 2 word boards, and we net it down to 1 mantra. And then we figure out our practices for the next 8 weeks. And we check in on them each week. And I've got some club members that, lovingly they come every session because they're like me. They're just hooked on accountability, and they're hooked on achieving change one kind of step at a time. So I'm going to try my new tagline on you right now.
Go for it.
Which is club change because you can.
Oh, I like it.
You like it?
Yeah, I love it.
All right.
That's good. That's good. That's catchy. Well, here's the question. So someone who joins the club and, finishes the 8 weeks, I mean, does that end it there? Can they come back and do more?
They can. So they get a discount on future ones, and they get discounts for referrals. But yeah, I would say a good percentage of the club members who sign up for the next one. So I start one every other month. And so the next one starts November 3rd. And I was going to take December off and start a couple of them in January. But you know what? I'll probably start one in December, and then January, and then February and March every month.
Like how we have in the fitness world, we have like transformations and, all these things, body transformation. I think this is a mental transformation or lifestyle transformation, real one. It's just real. I mean, you can do that. And sometimes it takes more than a few weeks for someone to actually really achieve. Sometimes you might have different goals or different gifts.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for 20 years, and it even the kind of lifetime word board where it's changed, right? Some are repeat and some change. And it's really fun because, as you said at the beginning, we're all different people all the time, right? And our actions are different, and our lessons are different, and our experiences are different. So when you bring this into your daily practice, you can do this. I'm planning on doing this for the rest of my life. I love it. It's, I can always get better. I never arrive at that destination. I have an open mind and an open heart. And so hopefully I'll be doing this for the rest of my life.
Well, listen, definitely you should, and you are, and I think you're enjoying it. That's great, and that's the other thing. You're enjoying what you're doing, then you're never going to be tired of it. That's awesome. But I think all of us we can practice these, and while we may not be the club, but we can certainly participate or at least understand it and even practice some of these concepts in real life. And anyone can do this, and anyone can actually benefit from it. And you mentioned it yourself. We never reach the end because there's always something new that we can do and move on and just experience or explore. It never ends. I mean, and to your point also, life is going to throw a lot of different things at us. It's just how we tackle them, how we address them, and how we kind of maneuver around them. That's it. And that's the way it is.
Well, and I would invite your listeners, if they did find their mantra and tape it around their house, and then do the process of writing down 3 practices that they can do in the next 7 days, and then sit down next Tuesday and answer honestly whether you did them or not, and what got in the way and what you chose instead, or the beautiful gifts that you gave yourself by choosing to practice these practices. If they can share that with you on one of your on one of your media platforms, or come onto my website and let me know how it went, that's right there. I mean, you could just do that every week. You could listen to this recording every week and set a new joyful practice for the next week.
Well, here's the good news. This is going to be, pretty much in all the podcasts and pretty much all the visual media, social media. So yes, and we will have the description of your website and your links. So, hey, they can do it through my Hurricane H at ihealthradiousa.com, or they can certainly send it to you directly, and you can see the practices. And this may be next week could be the fun week, because this is going to be literally all over. So people will listen to it at their own pace whenever. And so it's also on the radio, so it will replay over and over for at least a few weeks, and so they'll be able to listen to it. So hey, listen. Nothing to lose. This is all fun stuff. You can do it. It doesn't cost a penny. And if you feel like you want to invest in something like this, why not? This is not really into something. It's really in you, into your own betterment and better health and better wellness, better mental state. And you name it. I mean, it will be yours. There's no loss here. That's it. So any good words of wisdom to close the show today?
Oh,
Uh-oh.
no, I think two things that really resonate for me and the club members is, one, to be comfortable practicing your mantra, So this week for you, I am, I choose, I will vacation, right? And it's I know it seems silly to say it, but the more often you say that this week to the mirror, to just looking at a note, the more likely it is to come into your practice in a kind way. And then the other thing is to just be kind to yourself, to give yourself the gift of kindness and lifelong learning.
Those are sweet words. Those are powerful words. And definitely being kind is a real gift. Period enough. So Jill, we had fun. This hour has been, we exceeded the hour actually. So yeah, I didn't realize it. Yeah, it went quick. So it was fun. So thank you for all the good stuff that you give us here. I mean, it's really enlightenment here. I feel like, woo-ah.
Me too.
So I think everybody that probably listens to this or watches this, hopefully they get all that excitement and the vibe. So make it work, people. And that's about it. So thank you for being with us. Thank you for all that good stuff. Folks, thank you for watching, for listening in. Hurricane H here. We'll see you at the next show, next topic, next guest. Ciao, ciao. Bye-bye.